Hi, everyone. Welcome to our conversation after 2 weeks, right? And I hope you are doing well and enjoying your summer in this beautiful, beautiful day. I'm pleased to introduce our today artist, Vasu Tolia. Vasu, welcome to our conversation.
Thank you.
How are you? How are you doing?
Good.
Yes, Vasu is an artist as well as a doctor. How exciting. Vasu, please start with telling us about yourself, who you are, what you're doing, and how come you're a doctor and as well as artist.
Well, thank you, Farrin. I'm a physician by profession, and I grew up in Calcutta, India, and did my medical school over there and came over to US to do higher studies. So when I came here, I specialized in pediatrics and then pediatric GI, which was a very upcoming field at that time. Like when I finished my fellowship, there were only 2 pediatric gastroenterologists in the whole of Michigan.
Oh my God.
And I was the one who did the first flexible pediatric endoscopy at Children's Hospital of Michigan.
Wow, such a huge achievement.
And so I was always interested in academics, so I stayed on as faculty at Children's Hospital of Michigan. And my role was to do teach and mentor the students, residents, fellows, and do a lot of research besides providing patient care. So,
sorry, go ahead.
So while doing all that, I ended up having more than 150 publications and was on national committees and editorial boards. And it was a very fulfilling time of my life.
And then how you became involved in art and when actually you start to become interested in art as an artist?
I always loved art, and I enjoyed going to galleries and museums and looking at art. And my mother in her later life started doing a lot of geometric and nature drawings. Okay, her medium was pencil and paper and with some highlights with markers. Maybe that influenced me, but when I was thinking of retiring, I had to pour all that energy that I had in doing like 18-hour days, when I was working full time, into something that I felt passionate about. So although I have dabbled in art while I was in medical school for a few weeks and a little bit even in my mid-career, but nothing concrete. So I decided to take lessons, and here I am. I took a few lessons and I've been experimenting, and it's taken me a few years to get all the nuances of what I need to do to become an artist and create art that satisfies me.
So you paint when you were practicing as physician as well, right?
Very, very scattered, very little. I would really call it nothing of substance.
Okay. So what type of art are you doing?
I'm mainly doing representational art, but I'm leaning a little bit more towards abstraction. But I love to depict nature. And one of the things I love to depict nature about is I'm passionate about the role of arts in healing because of my profession. Because we all, we know for last couple of decades that when a patient in a stressful situation sees something pleasing to their eye, they feel more relaxed and soothes. Because what happens is that when you see something soothing, then it causes the endorphins to secrete, which give you a sense of well-being. And when they are stressed, more detrimental secretions like interleukin-6 and all kick into play, which increases like inflammatory response in the patient. So I thought, combining healing power of the art with representation nature, although I do it in some of my figures also.
So did you try that in your patient, and have you got any response for this
No,
healing?
no, I haven't, but I have exhibited, my paintings have been exhibited in a couple of hospitals, like for 3 to 6 months at a stretch and all. So that has been a fulfilling experience for me.
And in your statement also, you mentioned that you're trying to evoke a feeling of peacefulness to create a mood rather than an object or a subject. And also you mentioned this is because you're very interested in calming, relaxation, as well as inspiring the viewer. So please tell us how you are doing that through your art, and which type or what type of art you trying to create that feel of peacefulness as well as healing that you mentioned.
Okay. What I create has to look peaceful to me first, before I can appeal about it being peaceful to others. So at the end of it, when I even create the animals or wild cats and things like that, they're never ferocious. They are always sort of happy in a family type of situation or satisfied wandering around, but not creating any havoc or destruction.
Are you paint this in location, or you take picture? Or...
Oh no, these wild creatures you can't do on location.
Oh yeah, that's
They are from photographs.
I know, but it's silly question, right? I mean, you can like.
Yeah, and then I try to change them and make them, softer and more appealing.
Okay, so you take picture and then or a
Yeah,
sketch and then
yeah.
you develop it in your.
And I always change it from how it is in the picture.
Okay, and what inspiring you? I know you said nature, but the thing is, before you answer, I also we're going to come back to your nature again. But what I saw in your website, you have like, for example, this Ganesha, which is a religious, one of the major god in Hinduism.
Yeah,
Have a lot of cultural and religious, like element and symbols in your work.
yeah.
So I know you said you are inspiration from nature, but would you also explain this your cultural
Ganesha,
and religious inspiration in your work?
well, Ganesha is our demigod with an elephant head, and there is a very cute mythological story attached to it, but he is worshipped first in all our religious occasions. So I love to depict this god in many different ways and forms. He has a human body, but head of an elephant, and he's really a darling of many people as far as gods are concerned. We collect statues of him and pictures of him and things like that.
Yeah, why you choose Ganesha? I mean, he's the god of like removing the obstacle and difficulties. Is that
Yeah.
the reason you choose him
Yes. Yeah.
as one of your icon? That means, although I saw in your other work as also you portray and reflect, your cultures and a different culture element and symbols in your work. And if has how has your work changed over the time? I know you painting for like maybe 6-7 years, but is it changed? Is this something you used to paint from beginning?
Ganesha, yes, but
No, I mean overall the whole type of painting you're doing.
it has definitely evolved and changed. I used to do more representational, like as it was more seen in the picture or photograph. But
Yes.
now I am feel bold enough to add my happy accidents and change it and do different strokes to change from how it was and stuff like that. Plus, also, as you see this Planet Earth series, I'm particularly passionate about depicting nature because I think we have an obligation for our future generation to preserve planet Earth and make it continue to make it livable. So I don't know if you realize it, but my full name Vasundhara means earth in Sanskrit.
Wow. All right. I didn't know that. I didn't.
But so I try to preserve the nature as it is today, by showing it in all its glory and beauty, and hopefully it will continue to be that way. So that is also one of the things that inspire. One of my themes is to represent, nature, so that we can try and preserve it and not create any havoc with it.
Yeah. So nature is you. It's not even in you. It's you.
Yes.
All right. So one of your recent work, which is this one we see right now, it's featured as the best art created by Washington Post reader during this pandemic. Would you please walk us through this artwork?
Yeah, during April and May, when the coronavirus was still new and really creating havoc all over US, but particularly in some of the epicenters, and Detroit was one of them. I mean, all over the news media, everywhere, all you read about was just COVID. There was nothing else. So it kind of, in the state of oversaturation with COVID, I decided to create some art because it bothered me that I couldn't be in the front line, because of my retirement and high risk status. But I said, all I can do is to create some art related to COVID. So this one I created about how to combat it, like imprisoning or catching it in the fist and not let it escape. But unfortunately, this is such an invasive virus that I show some of the virus particles escaped and floating around. And then I knew the whole world was dealing with it. So I decided to put the stamps of as many countries in the world that I could manage on this hand to show that the whole world is dealing with this crisis. So this is truly a pandemic.
So this is mixed media. So those are real stamp actually?
It's the real stamps.
All right, I was like wondering if it's, so you shows like, this is something the whole world involved and they all, dealing with this crisis at the moment.
Yes.
So what do you think the role artists is today, especially during this pandemic, and what they can do with this social distancing?
This is a very unnerving and unusual time for most of us because, human beings are social animals. So social distance is wearing a mask, having Zoom meetings rather than, boardroom meetings, no face-to-face, telemedicine, everything. And as if this were not enough, we have all this gender and racial inequality tensions in the country. So I think the artists can respond to it by creating how they feel can let people deal with it and tell them the positives and negatives of it. Like in this ethnic turmoil, although this picture looks gory by my standards, but I was trying to show that the same heart and the similar blood, beats in every race and every gender. It's not that anybody is any different.
Exactly.
We have the same anatomy and physiology may be different based upon our genes, but basically we are all same, not different. It's the difference is only skin deep, which is what I tried to show in the other portrait. Is I'm showing a half black and half Caucasian kind of a face, but I'm trying to blur all the differences to show that the difference is mainly just skin deep.
Exactly. So we all at the end, all human being, right? And we have the same blood and the same vein and everything. So what makes us different is not physical appearance.
It's our thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You also feature women a lot in your work. In poem actually, which is, I guess it's your poem, right?
Yes.
Talk about divine. You talk about two different level of woman: a divine, a divinity, goddesses. You talk, as well as an earthy level as a woman. You compare kind of these two level together. Would you please tell us about your, like, this passion of you for women, and also tell us what's your thought about about the position of women in art, in the art world?
I I really feel passionate about uplifting women. So I try to portray them in as many different roles as I can and glorify them right from birth as a daughter to eventually a grandmother. And for those of us who don't have all those positions, you are yourself. And whether you are just a regular person doing a job or high up level in corporate, you are all women. And we see the gender biases. And I see here one woman in the library, actively reading. It may be a self portrayal of myself at some stage that I thought. But we just need to make room for ourselves and stand up to men. And you see here they are getting more abstracted as time is passing by, and I'm doing more stuff. So
I'm just trying to show a more of this woman journey, which is, you have it in your website.
yeah.
So sorry, I interrupt. Please
No.
continue.
So as you can see, a woman on top climbing on a corporate ladder, and a sister, and just a housewife, two little sisters walking around, somebody studying, a lover, a musician, a dancer, a physician, a grandmother, and just an enigmatic woman's face, and some of the new drawings of the beautiful anatomy. And I have woman as a mother. So I try to glorify all these faces of roles of women. So I want women to be inspired by women,
Exactly.
and be doing something. And I hope that women will also be, mentors for other women. And occasionally, I mean, as a brown woman, being in academic medicine, I have known discrimination all my life. So I know how hard it is, and I wish women would not be women's enemies and do not feel threatened, but help to uplift them.
Exactly. So, and also, since we just saw one of your poem, I want to go back to that.
Okay.
So, you are your poem inspired by your artwork, or you create a poem based on your artwork?
Yes and no. I have created several poems based on my artwork, and this ode to women was because I had a solo exhibition of 24 paintings of women. At that time, I wrote this to represent what I was thinking about my show. Um, but I have also participated in what are called ekphrastic competitions, where poets and painters are artists are paired, and based on somebody's poem, you would create a piece of art, and based on a piece of art, a poet would create a poem. So I have participated in those kinds of things too. So and I belong to a very nice poetry tribe where very accomplished poets, I learn a lot from them. We have twice a year 2 sessions, semesters kind of a thing, and we learn from a teacher.
So, therefore, sometimes you create artwork based on your poem, or sometimes you create a poem based on your artwork. So both work in your that.
Yes. Yes.
Also, you have some abstract, and which I have two of them in this PowerPoint, and I'm gonna go back to your website. Would you walk us through some of your abstract work? I know you try different things, in in terms of art. But would you explain your abstract series and what you try to feature in this abstract series of yours?
Over here, I'm showing, themes of like friendship, gratitude, and love, kind of a thing. So I have the birds, and I have two women standing on an ark and hopefully holding each other up while being role models for others. And I recently have started incorporating some stamps in my paintings, and this is a picture of
Why are you using stamp? Sorry, since you mentioned why. What a stamp represent to you, or what message stamp has to you?
it is related to something happening in that painting. Okay, so and most of them are stamps on women working on that particular theme or topic that I have depicted in that thing. But there can be other things too, like I have put.
Yeah, like for example here, sorry, let me just go back. Here you have a stamp in this some area around this. These are a stamp, right?
Yes.
Why you have a stamp in this work?
Because I wanted to represent several accomplished women, like there is Mother Teresa and Indira Gandhi and a few women dancing in the stamps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I need to zoom in or see them in person, then I know what those stamp represent. So because here it's very difficult to see the detail of a stamp.
Yeah.
So I couldn't figure out. Yeah, so would you please also walk us through some of your abstract work very fast if you can?
Yeah, sure. So these are some of the cheerful abstracts, just showing bright colors with flowers and stars and soaring birds and just.
What media are your abstract work? Also mixed media?
Mixed media. Usually mixed media, because to create texture, I use different things. So they're mixed media, the abstract works.
All right. Is there, what's the most memorable responses or that you had to your work over the time when you exhibit your work or when people saw your work? Something you remember it still?
I think people identify me with colors, because colors, bright colors and cheerful colors are one of my main things that I enjoy doing, but not that I don't use muted colors as well. But people are always commenting on colors and also just the overall composition and themes.
So actually, bright colors is Indian, so part of Indian culture. Also, I saw you do still life, and you do different thing. I mean, this is your website, and if anyone interested, they can check and see more of your work. You also do still life. So these are the one you painted in location, right?
Yes.
And then how long it takes or for you to paint something like this?
It depends on the size of the painting. If it's a small 12 by 12, it may take me about 6 to 8 hours.
Okay.
And others, bigger ones, may take 40, 50, 60 hours. It all depends. And I'm usually working on several paintings at a time. So it's not like I just do one, finish it to the T, and then move on to the next one.
Okay. So for the still life, you have to go back to location, several times in order.
Yeah. I keep the setup going.
Okay. And then how you choose your subject?
These are from photographs, because when I was in Mexico City at Teotihuacan, where a vendor was selling these skulls, and I mean, they looked so cheerful despite being skulls, that I titled them Coming Alive Again, even though they have been buried on the Avenue of the Dead. But to me, all those folks were coming alive in these bright colored things.
Yes, exactly. So, but you have some also you did in location. I mean, for some reason I can't really click in open all all of this at once. But you have some also you go back to location and you have to several times you go back to location and pick.
Yeah.
All right. So there are more of your work here, and if anyone interested, they can go back and see your work. Lastly, do you have any final word for our guest today, Vasu?
Um, I feel that art is a very durable and expressive medium, to get your ideas across. And when I lay it down, it gives me a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment. And during different times, political upheavals or pandemic times like these, which are very unusual, um, people can express themselves and by doing these things. And it doesn't have to be just visual art. It can be music, writing, anything, whatever they find their forte into. So I think it's a very powerful expression of how people feel, and to disseminate that to the rest of the public.
Exactly. So this is like, something everyone can find their own way
Yes.
to somehow be engaged, more engaged, and be creative,
Yes.
as I guess you're doing today. So this is, are you painting currently anything? What you're doing currently? Any project you all involved right now?
I'm working on, actually, one of the paintings behind me is one I'm working on. I'm calling it Madame Butterfly because I needed to feel cheerful in this season. So I started painting butterflies with this movement. And I'm continuing to do some women. And I think very soon I will go into some abstraction also to see what I can find there.
All right, so thank you very much, Vasu. We really enjoy our conversation with you today. So this concludes our today conversation with Vasu. So this is her website, and you can reach out to her through her website. There is contact page in there, and you can email her and see more of her beautiful, colorful, calming, peaceful work. And if you have any question, comment, and suggestion for us, always you can reach out to this email, office@nova.org, with the subject line conversation with Farrin. So see you again in 2 weeks. Thank you very much. Stay safe and love you all. Bye.